And now I will present Stine, my colleague. She will make a small presentation for the making of sows. And again, to you out there, if you have any questions, please make them on the chat, and I will give them further on. Okay, welcome, Stine.
Thank you. We just wait a minute to get through. You got the possibility to look at the handouts. I hope you had that in the groups other places in Denmark. Today we will talk about different types of nursing sows, and I have chosen to put 5 in because otherwise it's more logical this way, even though it said 4 on the invitation. Some of those are virus friendly and some are virus hostile. Today we will talk about why do we reconsider the subject nursing sows. We have a few general recommendations, and of course I will go through the 5 specific types of nursing sows. Number 1 reason why we take this subject again is that far more pigs are born than the sows can take care of by themselves. Therefore we have a high demand on successfully nursing sows. Many herds don't have a plan, and if you don't have a plan, you are in trouble because where are the pigs and what do we do when and which pigs are going to be weaned and so on. So we really need to have a plan, and to make a plan you need to know different alternatives. That's why we have it today. You need to know something about making those nursing sows in a healthy way. You need to know something about keep control of internal infections. Then you need to consider at the farm how much sectioning are able, how much space do you have in different areas. When we talk about sinners of disease in piglets, we are most aware of the E. coli, the rotavirus, coccidiosis, and different virus diseases, especially influenza, PRS, and PCV. PCV is the circovirus. To the right, you can see an example of a smart swab showing different pathogens. Some of those are viruses, some are bacteria, but this we need to control along with others to have the most healthy farrowing unit. General recommendations. First of all, we need to have a plan at the specific farm and we need to follow it. So everyone needs to know what the plan is and you have to follow it. In this way you can also easily plan the weekend for nursing sows and stuff and give it to people not that experienced in farrowing stables. In general, have 2 steps of nursing sows or even more. We will go through this later. In this presentation we will talk about the nursing sows as first step and second step. So mellemsow, byttesow, and words like this I will not use. I will use first step and second step. When you make sows or nursing sows, make it early in the day and preferable several times during the day when the need is there, of course depending on the size of the farm also and amount of piglets. Remember to collect the smallest pigs at the same sow. When we talk about the first step nursing sow, there are some general thumb rules we would like to have. Sometimes we can get the perfect sow, sometimes we cannot, but this is what we are aiming for. We would like to choose a second to third parity, but if you have no diarrhea, it can also be good to choose a gilt, because if you have a longer period in farrow stable for the gilt, you will have a better production in the next round when she comes around. You should have at least 12 round uniform marzipan pigs at this first step nursing sow. Her own pigs should be about 5 days, and she should have a nice udder which is freely available and have small tits or long thin tits. We would like her to be in medium condition, so not too fat, not too thin. And we would like her to be, in all other ways, healthy, no lameness, no shoulder wounds, stuff like that. And then when we do the first step nursing sow, we would like her to already give split milking to her own piglets. When we choose our optimal second step nursing sow, we want her to have at least 12 round uniform marzipan pigs. We would like her own pigs to be about 21 days old, and we need her to be healthy and have a good shape too. Perhaps she can also have shown that she can successfully be a nursing sow before. Other tips. Not to mess up the heat cycles of the nursing sow. Avoid letting the sow start without pigs to avoid disturbance in the heat cycles. Important that the sow are accepting the pigs quickly, so they will start to have milk from her, so she won't be kind of weaned inside stable. And of course we have to adjust her feed also. As a thumb rule, we say that when you are making a nurse sow, her feed adjustments should be like the pigs she will receive. So if you have one close to weaning, you will turn her down, not all the way, but almost to the same level as the sow where the pigs are coming from. Tips to encourage the sow's accept of nursing pigs could be give painkilling to sow before moving. Don't do it at the same time, because then she can associate new piglets with something bad, someone coming and put a needle in her. Let a few big or all of her of the nursing sow's own pigs stay in there until the first suckling is done. Usually it's about 1.5 hours. And we could also give her some calming supplement. A calming supplement could be beer, it could be a bunch of straw, it could be some kind of peppermint oil on nose and pin, so everything smells the same. And it could also be the product Citolene, which is a kind of a powder with herbs, baldrian and stuff, which make them calm down. Here, a little calculation, what it means when you have a high weaning per weaning. This is very important when we talk about nursing sows, because if you have a high weaning per weaning, you are in need of less nursing sows. So if we look to the left, we can see the calculation on 10 fravænnet per fravænning, weanings per weaning. And all the numbers are calculated in a farm with 18 born alive, with 10% dead, and 11 non-productive days. If you have 10 weanings per weaning, you will have 60% of the sows who have to be an ama sow. When you have 60% of the sows becoming an ama sow, you will have nursing days per sow at 38.6. Liters per year sow would be 2.19, and wean pigs per year sow would be 35.5, meaning that you have 62% of the pigs weaned at 26 days. If we go down to 30 fravænnet per fravænning piglets every time you wean, you will only have the need of 20% of ama sows. That gives some different numbers. You have nursing days per sow down at 31, just above 31. You have liters per year sow 2.29, and then you have wean pigs per year sow 37. 80% of the piglets are weaned on day 25 to 26. So it makes a huge difference how many piglets every sow can have in the farm on how many ama sows, nursing sow you have to make. If we want a high own weaning, we need to focus on first 2 days where we should keep the sow filled up. Usually we say the number of teats plus 1 or 2 depending on farm. We should give some kind of dairy product and ensure weaner feed. It could be with a mini feeding system or manual feeding several times every day. Then we should have a high level of health, controlling diseases, piglets and sows. We should also remember biosecurity in general, and of course optimal would be all in, all out. We also need to slaughter out of the right sow out so that we don't have her back in farrow stable if she's not optimal. Now we are off to the 5 types of nursing sows. We have 1, we called it pigs to sow. Then we have number 2, sow to pigs. Number 3 is a mixture. And then 4, 1.5 step. And the 5th we will call push pigs forward. The first one, this is the model. We have 3 batches here. The third batches I did not put in, but it's still there. But those are shown because they have importance in this model. When we start making the amesow, we will take all the excess piglets from the farrowing unit and put it into the next batch and make our first step nurse. Her piglets will be 5 to 7 days after farrowing, and those we have to put to another sow. We choose our second step nurse in the unit, the section close to weaning, and therefore we can wean her piglets. This is a very traditional type of nursing sow. It have a high. The good thing is it have a high capacity utilization in farrowing section, meaning that we are using all our pins very well, so we don't have any spare rooms. It also ensures mixing of age groups, which is not very good. And to explain this, when we take piglets at 5 to 7 days, we will mix them with pigs of 21 days in the last section. But when we wean, we will afterwards take both the sow and the piglets and move them backwards because they're not close to being big enough to be weaned. And I have shown this here. When the section is weaned, we have number 4 out here. This is the pigs ready to be weaned, and where we have our second step nurse. Then I have to put in the last section here to show it right. So now we have all of the sections shown up here. What happens when we do the weaning is that we have to wean all the sows with the piglets old enough, big enough to be weaned. Then we have the second step nurses left, and I also made an opsamling here. Then we go into the next batch, and we wean those big enough, old enough to get weaned. Now we have the empty spaces in the 3rd week batch, and we need to put our pigs together so we can clean and disinfect and get the 4th week batch ready for the next batch ready for farrowing. So we put them in here, and in here we now have all our second step nursing sow for this week. We also have some kind of collected pigs, opsamling. To add on, we also have pigs with expected age of 21 days, because that is what is in general in this section. And when the next team are going to farrow, we will start making new second step nursing sows. So now we have a really big mess in this one. And when they're getting weaned, we have a lot of pigs and sows we need to move backward once again. So this is the worst thing about this model. Okay, the model number 2, sow to piglets. We have the same setup here, where I did not put in the 3rd batch, but the 3 others are there. So and this one demands you have empty farrowing pins. You take all the excess piglets here, and you put them in the empty boxes in the same unit. Then you take the sows from the week before and make your first step nursing sow. Her piglets are going to be taken care of by your second step nursing sow, which you will find at the section ready for weaning. Her pigs are going out in weaning stable, fravænning, because they're old enough. With this model, you have no mixing of age groups and infections, and it also ensures that the oldest pigs are weaned, because when you go into the section 4 to the far right, it's very easy to go in and get everyone out in the right age, because they're all in the right age there. Number 3, we call it a mix, and it also demands empty farrowing pins in the first section. Some people also call it remove nursing sow, let mellem sow stay. Here we take the excess piglets and put them to a first step nursing sow in the second section. Her piglets we put into the second, the empty pens in the first section, and this would be our second step nursing sow. If we do this mix model, it's a good idea to put the empty spaces the right way. So if you don't have sectioned farming stables, but you are doing a snake where the one team are going directly to the other team all the way through, then it could be a good idea to put those empty boxes in between the two weak teams, so that the age and size of the piglets are almost the same as those next to it. Okay, and pigs older than 21 are weaned when they don't have any mom anymore. In this model, you have age of pigs is almost similar to those standing next to them, which is a good thing. Number 4, 1.5 steps. We have the same thing here, empty pens in section number 1. We put our excess piglets to our first step nursing sow, but we choose our first step nursing sow in the same section. So one sow in the same weak batch farrowing earlier. Her pigs we will put into the empty pens here, and we will get the Ame sow, the second step nursing sow, from the weaning section. And her pigs are going to be weaned. This model also have pigs at almost similar age, standing close to each other, and this model can actually be used for 2-week production also. Number 5, pushing pigs forward. We have all of the weak batches drawn here, and we put we also can call it pigs to sow expanded, because it's kind of the same model as number 1, but just with another step. So we take all the excess piglets and put into the week before, where we have our first step nursing sow. Her pigs we put one pig before again and have our second step nursing sow. Her piglets are moved into the next section, where we make our third step nursing sow. If you have 4-week weaning at this site, you will wean all her piglets. If you have 5th week weaning, 5th week weaning, you will do another step. So you actually would have 4 nursing sows in that case. Here you have pigs always moving forward, never back, almost, and ages is almost similar to the pigs in the same section. Nursing sow accept pigs at the same age as her own very well, so it makes it often easier to make this type of Ame sow. To summarize, the advantage of piglets to sow is you have a max use of the space inside the farrowing unit. You have a sow to pigs with a maximum of biosecurity. You also have piglets of the same age are kept together and make the weaning and stuff very easy. You have number 3 mix, good biosecurity, and piglets of same age are also kept together. Then you have 1.5 step model number 4. Again, you have maximum of use of the space inside the farrowing pens. You have a good biosecurity, and this can also be suitable for 2-week production. When you use model number 5, pushed pig forwards, you will have a maximum advantage of the number of farrowing pens, and you have a good biosecurity. Piglets of same age are kept together. The disadvantages is in number 1, you have a poor biosecurity. You have a big mix of pigs of different ages when you move them forward and afterward backwards. Sow to pigs, you will have a demand of empty farrowing pens when weak batches are farrowing, and also you can have trouble moving sows into piglets much smaller when they're close to weaning and just want to go out. Number 3, you have demands of empty farrowing pens again, and again the sow can be troubling when you move her. 1.5 step number 4, we have a big gap between the ages of sows' own piglets and nursing piglets, which can make it very difficult for her to accept the new pigs. Then we have push pigs forward, where you have to move much more pigs all the time. Pigs to sow, no virus control. The mix, okay, virus control. The push forward, good virus control. The number 2 and number 4, you have a super virus control. Yes, time for questions, if you have any.
Okay, thank you, Stine, for a very nice presentation. And I think it was very, how to say, pedagogic? No. It was, to me, easier to understand the way of making these Amish sows. It can be quite complicated out there. I know you're experts, all of you, making it every day, but I hope you got some insight in the thoughts about strategies on making Amish sows, and you should take that with you home. Stine, I have no further questions, but maybe Yevgeny has a question. Yeah. Is it a long question?
No, it's not a long question. What is the most popular mix in Denmark?
Yevgeny asks, what is the most popular type of Amish sow system in Denmark? I don't know if Stine has a answer.
I think it's number 1, which is very traditional in Denmark, used for many years, so many people just still using it. I reckon maybe half of the farms are still using that one, the one with no virus control.
What is the best for your opinion?
It depends on the farm. I will say, I was asked which one is the best in my opinion. I think the number 2 and 3, 4 and 5 is actually equally good depending on the farm, because some farms have the possibility to do totally sectioning, and then we choose in one direction. If you don't have that possibility, you choose one of the others. But you have far more virus control in the 4 other types.
I have one more, the last question. If you're talking about these strategies which you showed to us, is it fit for another genetics or only for the Danish one?
The question is if those different models are fit only for Danish genetics, or if they could be used on other genes also. I believe they're very general, and this is principle of all types of sows, if you have to make Amish sows, of course.
Yeah, and to supplement on that, I would say in some genetics, it would not be necessary to make so many Amish sows, but that is another, I think, discussion. Yes, we could have that on another day, I think. So, any more questions? Yeah, Jaroslav down there. Oh, the question here is if it is a problem to move pigs that are 5 to 7 days old when the castration has been done maybe 1 or 2 days before movings. Was that right? Yes. Correct? Yeah. Would you?
I think I understand what you're talking about. The first step, Amish sow, when you make the excess piglets, of course they will be younger. But you're talking about when we are choosing our first step nursing sow and her pigs, yeah. That's the deal, because we are castrating, most farms in Denmark are castrating, so we have to do that. The optimal would be no castration and stronger pigs, but since we are castrating, I will say yes, we have to choose them anyway.
But it's okay if it's the 5-day-old or maybe 8 to 10
5 to 7 days.
Yeah, yeah, you're answering, sorry. Yes, it's better. Most farms are castrating around 3 days, 3 or 4 days, and I would say 5 to 7 days is the best.
I think, in my opinion, of course, the optimal day is 6 because if we castrate when the pigs are fully sold, of course, sometimes on next day they can be a little bit skinny, because after castration they still feel pain. So day after,
Yeah.
when they are 6 days, they're the best, I guess, day when we.
Our comment here is that at their farm it's the best to take pigs at 6 days old, just between 5 and 7, because just after castration they can be a little more weak and skinny, but it works very well with 6 days old piglets, and I agree, yes.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point that we need to look at the pigs we move. Don't move them the day after castration. I think that's a good point. So, Stine has some extra.
Yeah. Just want to say, like, when we have an optimal nursing sow, we have some kind of golden standard we aim for. But we also, all of us know that you don't always have the optimal sow, and you take the next best. The same when you're choosing this. So you should also consider the pigs, if they have been castrated a little late or were very weak. Well, don't choose her as a nursing sow. Take another sow, even though it might not be optimal.
Yeah, I think no further questions from here. So, Stine, thank you very much for a good presentation. And I hope you, all of you, got some good information home here from Dalum. And look forward to see you again. I guess it should be in June this year. And have a nice ride home. And also goodbye to you in Jutland. Bye-bye.